a dark side and a more lightened side. You have a side of violence, greediness, selfishness. You have to struggle. This jihad in nafs, which is the jihad within yourself, this is where you will get the right moral qualification. You are responsible to educate yourself, to purify it. This is your duty. The self is not good or bad. You have to go through in nafsul ammara, this self that is imposing into you the dark side, violence, selfishness, your aggressivity. So you go from this in nafsul ammara, in the nafsul lawama, when you are facing tensions within your own self, and the highest level is in nafsul mutma'inna, a peaceful state of the heart where you get this peace. At the end of the day, the highest level of this moral qualification is when you are in a state of inner peace. This is where you are reaching the highest moral qualification. This is the good. This is the right. This is to follow the al-ma'ruf, which is known as the good among human beings. But then we also have وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. He's lost, she's lost. The one who is just not following the right path, that is following the dark sides, that is just corrupting his self or herself. Corrupting by doing this, not to respond to the call of God. And God is calling you, come to the right path, come to this education of the self, and do not follow your desires, your superficial emotions, the reality of the world. This is a spiritual struggle. This is where you will get the negative moral qualification. So here we are with a being at the beginning who has no moral qualification, but is in a state of dignity because of innocence and freedom. Use your freedom to master your innocence towards responsibility to get purification. This is the spiritual journey. This is where you are going to be saved. This is what you have to do. Now, it's not enough. When you are aware of your own self, you know that you will never be perfect, morally speaking. That it's a very difficult journey, because you know that yes, you are trying your best, but you are always doing things that are not at the highest level. You are never at the highest level of your spirituality. You are struggling. This jihad in nafs, sometimes you win, very often you lose. And this is why you get something which is very important, which is a sense of humility. Humility means that you are not going to succeed alone. This is why we are always saying, and this is to be understood, you cannot get the very essence of what we say when we say, Insha'Allah, if you don't understand what I'm talking about right now. Very often the Orientalists, when they were talking about, Muslims, saying, oh, they are fatalists, because they are saying, Insha'Allah, it's always if God willing, this will happen. No, it's not this exactly. It's, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best with my own self. But at the end of the day, I know how weak I am. I know how difficult it is. And I need Him to succeed. So I do whatever I can, and beyond what I can, Insha'Allah. God willing. If He wants, I will do this. So this is exactly the opposite of a passive attitude. It's a very active, but it's ambition to change myself with humility, understanding that I cannot succeed alone. I need Him to succeed. And this is why we are asking God very often as something which is part of the salvation, part of this humility, which is this connection. I need you. I am in need of your support. And even with my own faith, I have to ask Him, Allahumma la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana. God, not just make us forget the very essence of this faith, lose my faith after having just put me in the right direction, guided me in the right direction. So we are asking Him to help us not to forget Him. This is the very essence of something which is the moral qualification is not only to follow what is right, is to know the weakness that is in your own self, that you need him to be close to him. You need to remember him to be close to him. You need to remember him in order to ask him to help you not to forget him. So this relationship which is based on something which is accountability, your responsibility nurtured, shaped by your humility as something which is your spiritual journey. Salvation is here, is close to this dimension of commitment to change, humility as to my own power. It's a state of heart. It's a way to deal with the reality here. And this is where we have something which is the third dimension. And this is where I understand why is it that the second name of God in the Islamic tradition is after Allah is Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. There is one hadith Qudsi, which is a prophetic tradition with the God's inspiration and prophetic words, saying something, Inna rahmati sabaqat ghadabi. My mercy always comes before my anger. God is saying this. And one of the most beautiful chapters of the Quran is Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. But what does it say? Why is it important to remember this? Because in my journey towards this salvation, I should remember that it's not only that because God is here that I can be saved, but because of his attribute. If he was to judge me only on what I'm doing or who I am, I know how much I'm not perfect. I know what are my weaknesses. I know what sometimes I'm sometimes able to do, and lying to the people I love, cheating, forgetting, neglecting people, not showing solidarity. Salvation is connected to his mercy. He knows me, but he decided, because of his essence, that he will forgive before judging in a harsh way. Inna rahmati, my mercy comes always before my anger. In his judgment, his qualification, his attribute, his other name, who are Rahman, he's the most merciful, is coming as something which I have to understand as being part of my understanding of this journey towards God, and to get this sense of being saved. So, humility as to my power and connection to the one as the most merciful, knowing that I'm only going to be saved if he helps me, if he is close to me, if he forgives me. So there is something which is, we know this from the prophetic tradition, that he himself was in a dialogue with God, in a way which he was asking more than 70 times a day. He was asking God to forgive him because of what he knows about himself that nobody can know. Sometimes nobody can see what is in my heart, but I know how much this is sometimes preventing me from being close to him and being saved. So salvation is about not only my behavior, but also his mercy. My ambition, but also my humility. So it's all about this, knowing that at the very beginning, it's a question of responsibility. You have to do the job, and this connection with God. So it's really much based on this relationship with the one and the very deep understanding of Tawheed, which is there is no deity but God, and also my relationship with him, which is to free myself from my ego, free myself from the dark sides of the dark temptations within my inner life, my heart, and then to come close to him. And then we understand here also that salvation is about my commitment to change, and it has to do with jihad, which is this effort, this resistance to change what is in my mind, in my heart, but also in my surrounding society, everywhere. Man yara